I am a small enough artist that I can be responsive to my audience's wishes, and it would seem some people like to listen to me without watching and also have music on while doing so. So there's no music in this audio version. That's right, some people like to have a glass of wine, put on some jazz and listen to yours truly. It's all very sophisticated. It's called culture, mate. I've no business being there. The only other difference between the versions is that the audio descriptions of visual things will be included as needed. And now, without further ado, please enjoy the episode. Hello, you caught me pretending to be caught by you pretending to read a... Oh, hang on. Okay, wind it back. The music is just finishing up. Dum-dee-dum-dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dee-dee. Wow, 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 wow. Hello, you caught me pretending to be caught by you engaging in a metatextual deconstruction of the opening bit. I mean, pretending to read this book. Whatever book it is. Like I didn't know. For a series of routines on books, I haven't talked about books at all, really. Discussed the two-tier education system in classist, broken Britain, and then discussed the oddity of libraries, a socialist institution in a capitalist society. So this time I thought to myself, I know what people want in a comedy routine. Explicit discussion on actual books as viewed through the lens of a working class person who doesn't even believe in class but recognises class as a social construct made real by a small bunch of arseholes. But you'll forgive me if I just repeat the slogan "No war but class war" verbatim because, dear viewer, no war but class, which I don't believe in but nonetheless recognise as a social construction created and enforced by a bunch of cunts war, doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Anyway, this episode I thought I'd finish off the trilogy with an actual episode about books. Just not any books I have personally read. I admit it, dear viewer, I am a snob. I like what I like and I look down or up or sideways with narrowed eyes and a slightly wrinkled nose at stuff I don't like, or, perhaps more importantly, think I don't like because I have judged the thing on the basis of its cover. People say you shouldn't judge a book by the cover, but I think in fact you'll find that you are supposed to. Listen to this. Sounds like proper comedy, doesn't it? Probably ripped it off from somewhere, I expect. The cover sells the contents. The only time it's a bad cover is if it's misleading. Those of us, soon to die, will remember this phenomenon in video rental stores and the artwork on the VHS tapes back in the days when life was good because we were small children who didn't know any better. But this episode is about books. Not books I've read myself, but books I have seen lying around other people's houses in the 1980s and formed definite opinions on. I'm going out on a bit of a limb here, dear viewer, because I don't know if this was something that was peculiar to my particular circumstances or if it was a widespread common occurrence among people who noticed what other people were reading in the 1980s, particularly working class people. Not that I believe in class, but of course recognise that the construct, yada yada, yeah, you know, salt of the earth. How about that? What did the oi polloi read in their council flats and houses in the 1980s? There was, as far as I'm concerned, a definite pattern, and I'm going into it right now, right after this, because before all that, here's Book Corner, and my animation/video effects guy, i.e. me, is telling me that the sequence has been modernised a little to reflect the current age. I don't know why I would be telling myself that when really I should be telling you, but there we go, and here we go. Okay, imagine an infinite row of books of varying sizes and colours, 10 different sizes and colours to be exact, all entitled Book Corner, realised in cheap-looking computer imagery, which we move along until it is unceremoniously scooted away so we can focus on a globe made of books whose pages are turning. We zoom into and then past the globe, and Book Corner begins. In this episode of Book Corner, I discuss the 3ds Max 7 Bible, the holy book of would-be 3D artists everywhere a number of years back. Not so popular these days because, well, frankly, God is dead. Not just dead, but obsolete. But this book, this holy artifact, is proof that the old ways happened. In fact, if not for this holy text, there wouldn't be the opening sequence for this very episode. So praise be to the 3D CG of Max. Stephen King was everywhere you went, of course, but so was child abuse, so was chickenpox, for which there was a vaccine, and so was Buck Rogers in the 25th century on television. At least we vaccinate against chickenpox now, instead of having slumber parties where we mix healthy children in with infected ones to get the potentially life-threatening disease with lifelong consequences over and done with. Of course, child abuse is even more rampant these days, but at least we're not fucking hearing itty bitty bitty, what's up, Buck? So you'd see copies of The Stand, that was the main one, and Cujo, Dead Zone. But at the time, and equally popular it seemed, was novels by Dennis Wheatley. The covers of his books were skulls, snakes, people in black bathrobes, titles with the word devil in them, Satan, at least the books I saw, because he mostly wrote adventure books, none of which I've seen. My impression of his work, which I never laid eyes on beyond the covers of a few books, was that it would probably concern a bunch of middle-class, not that I believe in class, middling or otherwise, but you know all that, but middle-class airheads running around the English countryside trying to summon eldritch spirits from beyond the veil because they yearn to bring any spark of excitement to their otherwise humdrum existence, running around the English countryside, possibly naked, trying to raise Lucifer himself, aka otherwise known simply as Mr. Himself, being that Lucifer himself is just his name. It's the same deal with his brother Satan. Twittering fools of the middle class, lighting candles, drawing pentagrams and mumbling in pidgin Latin about creating a portal between hell and earth in the wrong tense. The notion of this I found to be a bit silly, really. I could kind of imagine being a Beelzebub bopper, getting into it. Got the people in their dark cloaks and hoods chanting, the fire is going, sparks flowing into the night sky like angry rubies. You're mesmerized and you hear the goat bleating. The knife is in your hand, the blood pounding in your ears. You're gonna slaughter that goat for Satan and then have sexual relations with it. Take that, God! But then a reedy voice calls from the gate of the field. Excuse me, sorry to bother you. Is one of you the owner of a gold Ford Fiesta? You left your lights on. Oh, great. Here I am worshipping the great Mammon, and that fucker's draining my battery while I'm sucking him off. I guess that's why he's the ultimate evil. But that's my review of Dennis Wheatley, not a word of whom I've read, and judging by my own review of him, I don't think I ever will. He sounds terrible. Dennis Wheatley. The one who sounds like Weetabix served with warm milk but somehow more anemic. In contrast, Ed McBain is a name that sounds aggressively American and beefy, as a sort of name that shoulders its way into a crowded room and makes short thrift of any bother. If you don't know who Ed McBain is, then you're not alone. I don't know who Ed McBain is either. All I know about him is that his novels were strewn around the place like they belong there. I remember his book covers mainly being variations on New York Police Department badges with varying levels of blood on them, and the words 87th Precinct prominent, so you knew it was about a police station in New York City. Again, not a word did I read of Ed McBain, but I felt I didn't have to. This was when The Equalizer was on telly, the proper one with Edward Woodward. I imagined, right, that Ed McBain's gritty New York police procedural novels were pretty much like the classic Equalizer in tone, but with more bureaucracy and more domestic drama, the boring kind. I basically believed it to be like the law part of television series Law and Order before television series Law and Order was even a thing. It's some kind of segue. Then another ubiquitous author was Catherine Cookson, who seemed to be bloody everywhere, not to mention all the dramatisations on the television that I never watched, because they were set in the olden times. But the really boring olden times. We need less workhouse intrigue and doing laundry using rocks, and more skeletons with swords from when history was awesome and based. I would sum up Catherine Cookson as Charles Dickens repackaged for housewives. It is a fact that Cookson's appeal was mainly to women, and whatever societal failure that might indicate, I'm not being sexist by pointing out the strategy of whatever marketing department was responsible for appealing to that demographic by putting twee scenes of pastoral suffering on the covers with just a hint of bodice ripping. I find her books, that I've never read a word of, just as much of a glacial bore as Charles Dickens, who I also haven't read a word of, but she will show you a little ankle. It seemed to me at the time women read more than men. Bad news, my brothers. Reading glossy softcore porn magazines and ragged daily tabloids doesn't count, I'm afraid. Arthur Haley was another one whose paperback was lying around. The cover was always a picture of a jumbo jet from the front as if taken with an anamorphic lens. I imagined his novels to be much like the movies of his novels. You know the films. Airport, Airport 77, Airport 80. When is the new one coming out? Airport, whatever number is funniest, yet to hit the silver screen. But I imagine, dear viewer, that his novels are much like the movies of his novels, except with more bureaucracy and domestic drama both on and off the airport campus, with the occasional airplane crash and or taxiing mishap that results in the complete destruction of the glass facade in Terminal B4. I'm sorry, dear viewer, but no matter how much you explode it, or put naked people in it doing the can, or serving up little bags of peanuts, there is no novel in the world set at an airport or concerning the commercial aviation industry that I want to read. Train station, different story, but an airport, no. Flying cigar tubes and the infrastructure to maintain them aren't the least bit interesting to me. Plus, Arthur Haley sounds a little too close to popular television confidence man Arthur Daly, a fictional character from British folklore of which the famous verse recounts. All right, my son, say no more, leave it out, no bother as happens it's your shout straight up, pull the other and a right to an eight, hang about it. What's the matter, chief? Who's your mate? The geezer with the bunny in the trilby hat, reckons he's legit, but he ain't all that. Arthur Daly, a little dodgy maybe even underneath. He's all right. Ding digga ding digga ding digga ding digga ding digga ding ding ding. Got to do the dings. Otherwise the ceremony isn't properly complete and Dennis Wheatley would be very angry with me. That's right, dear viewer, this was never about books. It was all about making your ears listen to a specific ritualistic set of words under your own volition in order to summon the most powerful of entities, the true lords of our domain, the old ones, not ancient but getting on a bit now, fairly creaky, but limber enough for the likes of us. That's right, you've participated in the charm of ultimate summoning, the summoning of the Mr. Men themselves. That's their actual name, as written and illustrated by Roger Hargreaves. And now the dastardly deed is done, I think it's time to close the book on this one. You can tell it's over because I said, "To be continued?" ? Yeah, just then I said it. It won't be continued, it's over. Get over it, it's all done now. We're at the back of the paperback, where there's blurbs for other books that they publish, and we're idly looking at that, wishing we were reading one of those. But we're not. Thanks for watching. Good night. Ah, at last, after years of study and decades of deprivation and sacrifice, I have finally summoned Mr. himself.
Yes, I have arrived.
Great! Are you the owner of a gold Ford Fiesta,